you can't have a fancy ribbon cutting ceremony with all the media there and everybody with their gold-plated shovels and big scissors because you maintained the Washington Bridge. But you can do that because you opened up the shiny building down the street.
Yeah.
That ain't no fish. That's a saltwater freight train. And when you're dragging one of those monsters over the rail, you don't need pretty boy fashion. You need Chasing Tail. Built for fish guts, mud, campfire smoke, and lies that get better every time you tell them. Chasing Tail. Wear it, wreck it, wear it again. Get yours at chasingtail.com.
Welcome to Cumberland Unfiltered Podcast, coming to you from Cumberland Tavern Studios. I'm your host, Caleb. To my right is Mr. Brad. Nacho Mayor. And then Jason. And tonight, our guest, really he needs no introduction, but it is, for the sake of those that don't know, Representative Mike Chippendale. He's the Rhode Island House Minority Leader for District 40.
Yes, sir.
What else should we know about you?
Oh, well, I'm an overall, all-around swell guy. I like to have that on my resume.
All right.
No, I'm just a regular guy, you know. I serve in the legislature. I enjoy serving in the legislature. I was elected in 2010 by the people of Foster, Gloucester, and Western Coventry. And I'm going to be going to my 16th year next year. It's been 6 years longer than I told my wife I would do it if I won.
That's the way it always works.
Yeah, it seems to always go that way. It's something that allows me to sort of stay relevant in my community, stay relevant in the state, and instead of being a voice on the sidelines screaming at what people should do or should do differently, I figured I'd step into the arena and try to do it there. So that's kind of...
That's why we started the show.
Yeah.
We couldn't step into the arena.
Yeah.
We tried. At least Brad couldn't.
That's what it takes.
Tried like hell.
Nacho.
Yeah.
But he...
I didn't try.
He literally did not try. He did no campaigning at all. Nothing.
It happens.
But at any rate.
Yeah, I had a competitor, too, who was very, very active.
Yeah, really? He was.
Yeah, opponent, yeah.
You got, what, 68% of the vote?
And
64, I don't remember.
And do you want to give it up to him? Like, do you want to say...
I would turn it over in a heartbeat right now.
Yeah. See, what happened was they did a, what was it, like one of them get to know your candidate or something?
Oh, it was Pints and Politics.
Pints and Politics.
But we're getting off topic here.
No, we're not.
Oh, we're not?
No. Good. We're relaxing.
Kicking the hacky sack around the circle, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're in a...
All right.
We're in the tavern.
Half of our audience doesn't know what a hacky sack is.
No, I think.
Yeah.
Is that a new thing? The hacky sack? Like, is that a younger thing?
No, that's when we were kids.
That's what I mean. So most people probably listening to us, based on analytics, know what a hacky sack is.
I thought, yeah, maybe.
Anyways, so Mike, thank you for coming tonight, man. We appreciate it. Yeah. It's been a long time coming, I think, from when Gary first invited you. It was a couple months been waiting for you, but here we are. I don't want to dive right into politics, man. There's a guy behind the politician.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to start the show with, was just talking to you about who is Mike Chippendale, not the politician.
Yeah. Mike Chippendale, not the politician, is a dad, a husband, a brother, a grandfather, as of 2 weeks ago, which is
congratulations.
Congrats
very much. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers to that, man.
Cheers to that, indeed.
Boom.
I think I've been a lifelong Rhode Islander. I've been living in Foster since the 1990s with my wife and my kids, and a Little League coach, religious ed teacher, served on our town's juvenile hearing board, which is a really nice way to serve your town and the people of your town without having any sort of a high profile, because it's all private. It's all minors that you're dealing with, and you're sort of helping kids who may have made one of the bonehead mistakes we all made, but didn't get caught, but they did. And you're sort of helping them to get back on the right track, and it usually works. So that was really rewarding.
Was that what made you want to eventually run? Was being in that position?
No. That's what got me into politics is a story in and of itself. That was just something where it was offered to me by a town council person in town because they needed to appoint someone. And I said, sure, I'll give it a try. And it was so immediately rewarding that I served on the board for 15 years. It overlapped my time in the legislature, and I wasn't able to attend as many hearings as I could or as I should. So I pulled away, and they were able to appoint somebody who could attend more. But that was a wonderful way, like I said, to serve the community. As was coaching Little League, I loved baseball my entire life. Grew up watching baseball since I was crawling, and I enjoyed playing it. But when I got into my later teen years, I started to notice that I wasn't as fast as everyone else, and I wasn't growing as big as everyone around me was. And this once former standout on the small field wasn't standing out on the big field. And I just figured, I'm slower and smaller than everybody else. And I went on to some other things from there, but there were reasons why I was slower, which I didn't learn until well later in my life. But so that love of baseball always remained. And then when my son was born in 2000, I was 4, of course, you show up to register your kid for Little League, and they're like, hey, by the way, we could really use some coaches. And I'm like,
that sounds
T-ball,
familiar.
T-ball sounds like, super rewarding. But it was. I'm glad I said yes, because it was. And I stuck with him through the layers of Little League as far as coaching goes, and then got into fall ball and some extra leagues, different, more competitive leagues coaching. And he sort of tapped out of baseball when he was 16, and just he didn't have the passion for it that I did. But coaching him was one of the greatest things I think any baseball loving dad can do is to play ball and coach your own son. My daughter to this day has a great love for baseball. She goes to games all over the country. She's not afraid to travel, and she's seen more major league parks than I have.
Really?
Yeah. She's a nurse by profession, and she's not afraid to travel. I love that.
Brad coaches softball or baseball.
Softball, baseball.
Yeah.
Started out with baseball. I played a lot of baseball too. Same thing.
That's great.
Now we have the upper deck stone crabs. Is what we run out of there. We get 17 teams between baseball and softball. And I went from coaching my son, now I'm coaching my daughter in softball, which I
What's
learned
better
is
than that?
definitely different than baseball.
Yes. Yes.
Took me the first year to figure that out, but
Absolutely.
once I got it, now I feel like I got a pretty good handle on it.
We won't tell you what Jay coaches his son to do.
Brad's problem with baseball was he did grow, just in the wrong places.
That's what slowed him down.
That'll slow you. That slows us all down at some point eventually, doesn't it?
No doubt about it.
Is it okay if I drink while we're doing this?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
God, not in a tavern, man. You're not allowed to. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, that at a certain point, politics did come into it for me. I did a little bit of lobbying in the '90s before my kids were born, even before I was married, and I thought I knew quite a bit about politics because I had done that. And then when I did eventually get in, I realized I had no idea about politics the way that I thought I did, But it was 2009 for me was a very formative year, and it was a very tumultuous year for me. I had 3 major life-changing events happen to me in 2009. The economy was really crappy, as you guys recall.
Oh, yeah.
The housing market is awful, yeah.
And I had a manufacturing business in Providence, and you know, I loved what we were doing. I loved what the industry that we were in, but I was having some. You know, when you own your own business, you work your tail off. You're there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the hours are long. You
Is
just
that true,
don't
Brad?
Stop. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Right.
Yeah, I
You just
know the
don't
feeling,
stop.
yeah.
But my body was telling me to stop, and I wasn't listening to it. And ultimately, you know, you pay the piper when you do that. So, found myself in a hospital and dealing with some things, and had to make a decision about the business. You know, what are we going to do with the business? So my wife and I made some decisions. We ended up shutting it down. At the same time that we did that, the reason I was in the hospital was because I was diagnosed at that point with muscular dystrophy. And I didn't realize that's why I was slow. I was a little leaguer and running, right? And I realized the harder I worked in my business physically, the more muscle I was breaking down, and I was shutting down my kidneys. I was doing all sorts of bad. I didn't even know I was doing that, right? Yeah, and at the same time, my mother was on her deathbed with cancer. So she died on Christmas Day, 2009. I shut my business down in maybe September or August of that year, and then I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy in maybe October of that year. So that was like a hat trick of crap, you know, all in one year.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so yeah, it was terrible. But in 2010, we had just, you know, as I said, she passed on Christmas morning. So my brother lives in Virginia, so we packed up the minivan and drove my little lunatic kids the 12 hours down to Richmond, Virginia, to spend time with my brother. And when we were driving back, they were just unruly. It was February. They were just unruly little monsters. And I just said, honey, I'm pulling over here. We're going to grab a hotel for the night. I can't keep driving. These kids I'm going to jump out of the car, you know. And so we pulled over in Philly and got a hotel room. And I'm like, hey, if we're in Philadelphia, I know it's February, but we're going to see the city.
Yeah.
Well, you know, whether you guys want to see it or not.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's almost where it all began.
It really it is, yeah.
Yep,
And it was interesting, you know. Interestingly, in January and February, if you've ever been to Philly, the old Pennsylvania Statehouse, which they now call Independence Hall, has a second floor, but you can't go up there as a visitor except for in January and February, because it's the least amount of traffic. So they allow people to go up there. Right. So I went up into that area, and I was standing where Lincoln's body had laid in state after he was assassinated. I saw the seats that you know, the Rhode Island delegates sat at. I saw the chair that Ben Franklin oversaw things, that George Washington ran the deliberations from, and I was like, holy cow, just stricken with this, you know, patriotic romanticism. And that was the light bulb that, with that hat trick of hell from the year before, when we left Philly, I sort of said to my wife, I think I'm going to get back into the politics stuff. Okay. And that's really what kicked it off for me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And that was 2009.
So it's 2009 is when the hat trick of hell happened, and then 2010 is when I made that decision and went to Philly.
That was your campaign year, though. It was 2010.
Yep. I went in. I had no idea what I was doing. I ran my campaign like I ran my business. I had a product, which was me. I had to brand it, and I had to market it, and I had to make it more attractive than the other product. That's all I know how to do, and so I did. And
obviously, you were successful at it.
Yeah, you know, I don't recall. Somebody asked me not too long ago, "Did you expect to win?" And I don't recall if I had expectations one way or the other. I don't think I was so arrogant as to think I would win, but I don't know that I thought that far ahead.
Right.
You know, and I'm sure you were surprised when you won, because
I was convinced I was not going to win. Because I did nothing.
It's just weird how people, you know, so having coached a lot of kids in the towns that I was representing helped, because I got to know people.
They knew you.
So playing, you know, doing scouts and doing religious ed.
Even after he won, he still does nothing.
I stir some stuff up.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I have to. And I think, you know, having the last name Chippendale isn't terribly bad either, because it's memorable and it's unique enough.
So you're not the founder?
I'm not the founder. No, I'm not even a member. In fact, people pay me not to dance. It's really it works out well for everybody.
That was.
It's really good.
I'm disillusioned now. It's done.
Well, you should. As soon as I walked in the door, you should have been disillusioned.
Well, you know, we all seen Hugh Hefner. He wasn't a looker. I'm not saying you're not a looker, but anyway.
So when you ran in 2010, what was the support like? Was it just organic to your family and your friends, or was it?
2010 was the Tea Party year, right? So this was the midterm election after President Obama was elected, and as we often see when there's a major change in the presidential in the office of the presidency, the midterm afterwards is usually
rebalance the scales.
Yeah. So the Tea Party wave sort of, and I hadn't been involved with the Tea Party. I just, and I wasn't even sure before I had declared, I wasn't even sure if I was going to run as a Republican or what I was going to run as, you know. I'd always voted independently, but I registered in this party or that party for primaries, as everyone in Rhode Island used to do.
Yep.
So I had to sort of figure that out, and of course you put a little work into it, and when you're representing a very rural part of Rhode Island, a farming community that's locally run by Republicans, that seems like a pretty smart choice, pragmatically speaking, but more so the things that I believe in aligned more with the Republican Party than they did with the Democratic Party.
Yep.
And, you know, running as an independent, I think it has its own inherent challenges, and
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
That's why I ran as.
It's just tougher because, you know, and
There's no support.
And that's what it is, you know. So I mean, I was told, you know, by people wiser than I am, that you look at the base for the party that you're in, and you sort of figure out there what are your percentages you need from the independents, what are your percentages you need from the Democrats, and that's exactly how I did it. I like numbers, I like data, I like to analyze. It was just, like I said, I ran it more like my business than anything else. You look at the market data, and that was the people. And when you talk to people for the first time, you start to get a feeling for what's important to them. And for my benefit, it aligned largely with the things that I was passionate about. So it was easy for me to talk about the issues.
Did they support you though? The Republican Party, like, did they support you over?
It's interesting.
How was that?
So locally, I was assisted when I decided that I wanted to run. I called the last Republican who had served in that seat, and he was great. He gave me a lot of fantastic information, people to talk to, steps to take. And the first three steps were talk to your three local Republican parties in the town of Gloucester, town of Foster, and the town of Coventry. Start there. If they give you a blessing, then you know you're going to run as a Republican. Okay, great. So I did that, and I did receive support from the local parties. The state party, I didn't make an effort to reach out to them. I didn't really know who to reach out to, and I just, like I said, I just did my thing. I sort of ran it as a business, and I don't recall exactly when in the campaign it was, but at some point it was summer, because I remember I pulled over on the side of the road and I was hot. The car didn't have air conditioning. It was a F-150, had roll-down windows, you know, no air conditioning.
Old school.
Yeah, so I remember that. So it had to be the summer. But someone from the party called and said, hey, you know, you're kind of being noticed. So is there anything we can do to help?
From the state level.
Yeah, from the state party. And that's sort of how I began with them.
And then they helped you, then they brought you.
You know, they do, the party does training and candidate training, and they'll give you access to resources and things of that nature. So they immediately started to put me in that loop. But when I was going to the trainings, the guys and the women who were doing them were like, all right, you really already have done all of these things. So I don't think you're going to get much benefit out of what we're doing here.
Did they expect you to win?
I don't know if initially they did, which is probably why they reached out to me so late in the game. You know, when you're getting a call in August or September or whenever it was, you know, they haven't noticed you for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And I wasn't remarkable in any way. You know, I hadn't reached out to them. I didn't seek their support or anything like that because I didn't know enough to.
Right.
But yeah, once they realized that, well, this guy's out there really busting his chops to get elected, and he's making waves. Yeah, they were all in.
I'll be honest. I feel like the Republican Party in Rhode Island in general is kind of defeated. They kind of have a defeatist mentality in the sense that we're an all-blue state, right? And a lot of times they spend more time, at least this is the way it feels, a lot of time they spend more time patting each other on the back for their positions within the party itself than they do actually trying to win campaigns, at least the party of today.
Sure.
Am I off on that visual?
Yeah, I mean, being inside the circle, it's
Right.
easier for me to point out where you're off, but I really appreciate hearing from outside the window, like what do people see? I can tell you this, it's always been the case that the people who are running the state party are extremely passionate about it.
Sure.
They're extremely passionate about what they do. I mean, it's all volunteer. No one's getting paid to do any of this stuff. And it's thankless. You have a bullseye on your head as soon as you do it, as soon as you step into that role and you become a mouthpiece. So it's not for everyone. And the party will go through chairman over time, every 2 or 4 years, there's going to be a new chairman who comes in and has to sort of work on the things that they observed weren't working well. It's not something that I would want to do. It's a difficult job. But they do work with candidates who will work on their own campaign and will make an effort. They will work with those candidates. So
That's good to know.
It is. Yeah. There's definitely support for folks who do, as we started off, who want to step off the sideline and get into the arena. If one demonstrates that they will do the things it takes to get elected, they're going to get supported by the party for certain. Yeah.
Do you know anything about the Rhode Island League of Small Businesses?
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Know a lot of the. Yeah, they are a great group.
Yeah. We just recently kind of aligned with those guys. And
Yeah.
Yep.
I like what they're doing.
Yeah. It's.
Creating 39 packs throughout the state so that, we can support a candidate, because, that was one of the biggest issues when I ran. There was 10 of us, and it's like, you can only go to the same well,
Yeah.
so many times.
Especially in the smallest state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the issue, the funding, like trying to raise money for other candidates, stuff like that. I mean, we literally had a girl, Amanda, who ran for the Senate seat, and she ran on what, $4,000, $4,500, and
35.
3,500, yeah. And that's an issue, because I think there's a lot of good people that want to step up and actually make a difference and make a change, like you're doing. And the issue is the funding part of it.
Absolutely.
And
That's the biggest challenge. One of the biggest challenges is funding.
It's unfortunate, but you need money. You need funds in order to do it.
Yeah, it's the worst part of the whole thing is the fact that you got to raise funds.
Yeah.
But this group is great because they're nonpartisan. They're
Yes,
not. They
correct.
don't.
That's what.
You don't have to be a Republican. You don't have to be a Democrat. You don't have to be anything. You
got
just
back
have to
this
be somebody
Constitution.
who exactly you're gonna do what's best for them. And they were, I think, largely compelled to put themselves together as an organization during the assault weapons ban, which happened this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they are by no means a Second Amendment oriented group.
No.
They're a bunch of liberty-loving business owners who have busted their tails to have what they have today and don't like seeing it taken away from them by a state that doesn't appreciate the value that they offer. So they've banded together, and they've got a lot of good, smart, knowledgeable people in the organization who are.
They got Steve Moretti. They've got a lawyer. They got a judge.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that they
Got a
started.
warehouse guy.
You gotta have a warehouse guy.
I mean, where are you going to keep the I mean, never mind. So
The trunk.
thanks. I appreciate it. They started as a restaurant, league of restaurants.
Yep.
And they're like, well, not everybody who's in restaurants.
Right.
And then they got into, they became real big proponents of the bill, like you said. And then I guess one meeting they said, well, we're not just about 2A, we're about
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the other
Constitutional rights.
amendments.
Absolutely.
Property rights. And
Common sense.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Common
And
sense.
they're being overregulated and overtaxed to death as all businesses in Rhode Island are. So
Big time.
they have a lot of interest, and those interests overlap with I think what any certainly what any conservative minded person believes in, but also what any common sense person believes in, who embraces capitalism and wants to build and have some prosperity. That's what America's all about.
Yeah. Yep, 100%, no doubt about it.
Well, I was just curious because I know that one of the gripes that they had with the current Republican Party was the fact that they run Republicans.
Yes.
And if somebody that the league is backing isn't necessarily a Republican, the Republican Party has already said they were going to run a candidate against their candidate.
I think there's a lot of these little snipes happening around.
Okay.
If this happens, this is going to happen. At the end of the day, I view it as complementary.
Gotcha.
There are places, and when you're in the Republican Party, and me as the minority leader in the state, I have to be working with Republican candidates. That's what's expected of me, and that's my role, right?
Absolutely.
But I am also going to tell you that we're not going to elect a Republican in Central Falls or in Pawtucket. These are places that maybe someday we will be able to, but right now we're not. The party has to work with those candidates. The League of Businesses, independent businesses, does not. They can then work with a Democrat who has a chance of winning statistically in one of those districts.
It still aligns with the conservative,
exactly,
most of a conservative value. Yeah.
And that, I think, is, again, that's complementary, and I think that's valuable because we can wave the Republican banner until the cows come home, but it doesn't make all districts Republican districts. It doesn't make it possible for Republicans to win in a lot of places in the state.
That was our, realization when we went to the Republican Town Committee to ask for their support when Brad was running for mayor, and it was just at that point it was just Brad and I.
Yeah.
I wasn't even signed up to run for school committee. It was just Brad, but it was me and him going around trying to gauge if there was an appetite for people for change, for a new mayor, and then kind of like the Pied Piper going through the town, we started getting all these people coming in behind us. But it was shocking. We went to the Republican Town Committee, and the meeting that we went to, they were talking about combining with Woonsocket, Smithfield, I think, and Central Falls, because none of the towns had enough members to maintain the town committee. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Democratic Town Committee in town has like 96 or 97, 97 people in there. They got like different factions, and they have people that are trying to.
The machine is real,
Yeah, I mean, there's such a super majority of Democrats in the state of Rhode Island. It's easy to be a Democrat, right? If you want to be in politics, there's plenty of benches, there's plenty of pathways to get yourself into office. As Republican, not so much. And our benches are shallow because of what you guys sort of saw. It's thankless, it's tough. You're the minority. You get beat up a lot. National politics gets thrown onto your head. You have to deal with that too. And just look at the voting rolls. There are fewer Republicans in the state of Rhode Island. It's just the reality of our state. Yeah. So I think focusing on that larger chunk of unaffiliated voters in the middle and just figuring out where they are on the spectrum of conservative to liberal.
That, like Brad was saying, that takes so much money to get to them. And
that's the problem.
We just couldn't. Like we expected. Brad, was conservative, independent, We expected to get the Republican votes. We probably lost 15 to 20% of them because they just didn't know if Brad was a conservative independent or some left-wing like wingnut that was even further left than the Democrats were, So we lost 15. There were people that came in, just voted for the president and walked out. We didn't go below the ballot, and that was it.
That's what I did.
And that's actually
I'm just kidding.
It's quite frequent. It's quite common that you see that, which is where the analytics comes in. You got to be able to take voter histories and break them down, analyze them, look at who's doing what, who's not doing what, and go after the right voters.
Yeah. Well, that ties into what you said about running as an independent. It's like we had no support from either side.
Yes.
So it's like we know the systems on both sides, what doors to knock on, what doors not to knock on, blah, blah, blah. We had none of that. So it was like we just basically blanketed the entire town.
Knock on every door.
Yeah, knock on all of them. But the problem is the guy you need to get to is the guy that's not answering the door. It's like, and that was the biggest kind of eye-opener for me was that the fact that there's so many people that have no idea what's going on in their own backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking like 70 to 80% versus 20 to 30% probably know what's have an idea what's going on. And you got to get to that 80%, but it's very difficult to get to them.
Yeah, it is. It's even more so since 2020. You know,
big time.
That election was certainly the most bizarre election that I have ever been involved with. But the fallout after that, now a lot of the feedback we get from candidates is everyone is afraid to open the door because they think we're solar salesmen.
That's true.
Hey,
that's
I walked around with a sign because everybody's got Ring cameras that literally said, "I'm not selling solar."
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a valid tactic. When
afraid of the
number of people,
they wouldn't answer the door. Yeah,
just the solar people.
But I'm like, I'm not a solar guy.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
Because there was a lot of them.
There is a ton of them. Or
they
exterminators, the bug exterminators. They roll through my neighborhood
they put an ordinance in the town of Cumberland for soliciting.
Well, they're still doing
because
it.
of it.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
They're still knocking.
yeah.
I mean, who's really going to police that?
It's exceptionally difficult to do. Yeah.
So you got into politics after you had this this fairy tale moment with our founding. When you won, the first day you walked into the chamber, what was what were you what shocked you the most about where you were at?
That I was on the inside now. So, I mean, I have history with the building. As I said earlier, I had done some lobbying. My wife and I, when we were married, we had our wedding photos taken there because we just loved the building so much.
It's a nice building.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building.
It almost looks like the White House in a way.
It was built in the same Jeffersonian style as the U.S. Capitol was.
So it's funny. My sister, and just real quick, I'll get back. My sister came to visit, and I picked her up in Providence, and we drove by it. She was like, I didn't know you guys had a White House here, too.
See, it's beautiful.
But she also asked me where in Connecticut is Rhode Island, and I just...
Yes. We get that all the time. We're in New York.
She did not graduate from high school. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. So, yeah, it was overwhelming. It was Inauguration Day, really, was when I was on the House floor for the first official time. I had a lot of family there. Of course, it was a big moment. Something I didn't really expect. And mind you, but for my brother and my kids and my wife, the rest of my family is all Democrats. So it was a little juxtaposition there. But no, they were of course all happy to be there. It was a nice, a lot of pomp and circumstance on your first day when you go in. But being on the inside was okay. Now that I'm the dog who caught the mailman. Like, now what do I do? It's like, oh, all right, I'm here. How the hell do I do what I told everybody I was talking to?
My dad made that same analogy to me. He's like, "What if you become mayor? Then what do you do?"
It's a reality
We'd
that
have been screwed.
I hadn't put much thought into.
I'm just kidding.
No, you figure it out as you go. I mean, obviously, it's like being a parent. I didn't know how to be a dad, but when I take that little baby home, all of a sudden you're a dad, and you figure that out right quick.
You don't have a choice.
The difference with that is you don't have 3/4 of other people in the household working
trying to parent your
against
child.
you.
That's true, and it's 88% to be a little more precise.
That's how it is. 88.
It's like you're trying to put the bottle on the kids and they're slapping it out of your hand. Like, oh man.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. So that aspect of it certainly changes what it's like to walk in a Republican's shoes in the Statehouse than it is a Democrat's shoes. So we do serve a very different role. Our role isn't to go down there and win a lot of legislative bills and amendments.
It's impossible.
And stuff. It is nearly impossible, but it is to always present the other side and what we feel the alternative, if there is an alternative, or the better way to do it. To modify it in some better way. And I find that resonates more with the folks who pay attention to politics.
Yeah.
Particularly my district, which obviously I'm closer to them, and I have my fingers on their pulse a little bit more so than the entire state. But I will get calls. I'm not shy to go on the radio and on the news and all that stuff. So I will get calls out of the blue from people. Hey, I saw you, or I heard you on this show, or saw you on this show, or whatever. I really like what you had to say. Thank you for representing what I believe. And that's sort of all the fuel you need as a Republican, is to know that people at least value that you're out there banging your head against the marble wall for them.
You might get a bunch of calls from Ireland from this show. No, I'm just
I'll take them.
Well, like you said though, like at the numbers that you talked about, 88%.
Yeah,
like
that's a big
to run and win as a Republican. Like you have to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you bother?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you have to be all in, and that was kind of like, that's kind of the way we were in the town local level. But it was kind of like, we need to make a difference, try and make a difference.
Yeah. It's doing it for the right reason.
Throw it all out there. Yeah, do it for the right reasons, right?
Yep.
Because literally, it's for the constituents. Like that's who we want to help out.
At the end of
That's
the
the
day,
whole point.
it's that simple. And,
Yeah,
and
it really is.
It's not about titles. It's not about
No.
I mean, a lot of folks love to collect titles.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah, they do.
I will commonly say the two greatest titles, I have three now, but the two greatest titles I've ever had were Daddy and Coach. Now it's Daddy,
Yep.
Pop, and Coach. So I got three great titles, but Minority Leader and Rep is not on there because that's not what defines me. My children, my family are. And the kids that I coached in Little League.
I used to have a nickname called Alphabet in a group that I was a part of because I was always trying to do every role of the group. Like I was like the chaplain, I was like the media guy, and because I was always like sending out, I'll do it. They started calling me Alphabet because titles kept going behind my name.
Yeah, anyway. Titles mean squat.
They do, yeah.
Some people like them. It's like I see it all the time. They want the title. It's like, no, you got to earn the title.
And I mean, the title comes with some weight, too.
Yeah, it comes with weight. Yep, no doubt about it.
So we all know that, at least from the outside perspective, that there's a lot of corruption within the politics. How long did it take for you to start seeing that from an insider's perspective?
So, I was told by the minority leader at the time when I got there, it's going to take you the full session, so from January through June, to figure it out. And I wasn't quite sure I understood what he meant when he told me that. I do now, of course, and I did immediately after I went through that one full session. You see how it works, and you see how I'm always hesitant to use the word game because it's sort of a cheapening of what we do, but there is gamesmanship to it.
Sure.
So I sort of saw how the game was played, and it does take a full cycle, a full session to be able to do that. And that's when I heard things my first session that I wasn't able to quite, without the full context, understand. But at the end of that, you get out. Usually it's a hot June early morning when you get out the last day, and you sort of have your brain and your whole body just needs that week or two to just decompress. So after that happens, you start to reflect on it, and it all started to come together. Okay, I remember early on when this person stood up and said this, and I had no idea what she was talking about, but now in the rearview mirror I do. You asked the question, the corruption. So,
is it as bad as from the outside it looks? So here's the deal.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. So I think a lot of times the disagreements between the parties have a lot to do with, and we were talking about this just a minute before the show, with not understanding really what the other person is actually talking about. Yeah. Is it more that, or is it? It
is. Yeah. I mean, so that's why I sort of paused on the word corruption, because while corruption exists, it always has and it always will to some extent. It isn't there it's not there in the open. It's not. I think what true corruption versus a really crappy process that things get done with can be confused. A process may be terrible.
Sure.
The set of steps that need to be taken might really suck, but it doesn't make them inherently corrupt, right? So that's why I sort of hesitate there. Now, are those processes written by that 88% majority? Well, yeah, they are. So you can say it's an unfair process, but that's the beauty of a republic, is that we all have that power in us to change that. If we want to change those processes, we have to be better at getting more Republicans elected and convincing more people that we're worthy of being elected, and then we can change those rules. I think it's similar to what we're seeing right now in Texas with the redistricting. When you have the gavel, you can make those rules. And right now, the Democrats have the gavel, and they have for 80-something years. So I respect that because our republic set it up that way.
Sure.
So that's not inherently corrupt, but it's frustrating as hell. We see things like we saw recently in the news with an abuse of power by not an elected official, but someone in Rhode Island government.
Oh, yes.
And that further inflates everyone else's sense that the government's working for them. That hurts us. Again, that person was not an elected official, but we're being viewed with that same skepticism, of course. And it's, Rhode Island's always had the reputation of, know who I am,
Yeah.
There's much less do you know who I am out there than I think people might believe, but it certainly exists. Of course it does.
Yeah, right.
That's how come Brad and I we were bolstered up by two different cases. One, the Lusitana Club, about putting the thumb down on them for no reason. No reason. And then the horse farm, holding that up for 2 years because a friend of a friend didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Cost her $50,000 in legal fees, and
but nobody was benefiting from that. You know what I mean?
Nobody.
Just their authority, just using their authority to
abuse
to
of
make
authority.
Make people's lives miserable.
Yeah, correct.
And that was kind of the linchpin. That was kind of why we said, you know what, we gotta throw our hat in the ring and make a change here. Do something. And
whether it's that, that's the linchpin, or whatever it is that triggers a person to say, I'm going to try to get off the sidelines. That's good. It's good that some pivotal event caused it, right? Otherwise, no change will happen. It's a really tough sell, when you're the minority leader and I got to go out there and convince as many people as I can to run for a seat to come up and serve in the 12, maybe we'll be 15%. I don't know. Right? That's a tough sell. Well, what's in it for me? Well, there's a lot of long hours, a lot of hate mail, a lot of losing votes. I don't really know what I can tell you other than that. You have to have the passion to want to change the way things are. And I'd rather have someone who cares more about that than who cares about, what they're going to get out of it.
A title.
Exactly.
Or a personal gain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right.
I know on a national level, lobbying is a big deal when it comes to the Capitol. Is that the same thing in Rhode Island?
Oh, God, yeah. Money goes
talks.
right back to the conversation.
Yeah.
If you're not raising money, you're not staying in politics. And who has the money? The lobbyists have the money.
Yeah.
Why do they have the money? Because they want something from us.
Yes,
and the ethical and statutory laws around lobbying and all that are very strict. Reporting requirements are very strict in Rhode Island, far stricter than so many more states, but for good reason. Depending on the lobby, they can make you or break you.
That's true.
They can unmake you too. They do wield a tremendous amount of power and authority.
Do you think that's good though? Do you think that's? I don't know if I would say that that's good.
It's a double-edged sword. There are lobbyists working on behalf of things that I'm passionate about.
Right. But even then, though, the other side would say that's not good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's kind of one of them. I feel like what's good for the goose is good for the gander, but also.
We wouldn't, I'll tell you this as a legislator, particularly as a Republican, we have to know a lot about everything.
Sure.
And I can be very critical of my Democratic colleagues and say that they don't, because they don't. They have to know a lot about the 2 or 3 issues that are important to them.
Do we need to edit
unless
that
they're
out?
a chairman. No, you don't have to edit that out because I say it,
let's face it,
openly to their faces.
Well, like you just said, 80 years they've had it on easy street in this state.
I mean, if you're a Democrat, you have to vote yes on what's put before you,
right,
and focus on your issues that are important to you. As a Republican, you have to understand every single bill that's coming onto that floor so that you can speak articulately to it and figure out whether you're going to vote for it or vote against it. So our burden is a little bit heavier. We have to do more work. We have to research it more. And so when you're in a committee and lobbyists come to testify before you, they're really experts. I mean, a successful lobbying firm is hiring experts.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, they're not going to be successful.
Right.
Yeah.
So particularly when you're in one of those really policy-heavy committees like judiciary, finance, or corporations where, it's like alphabet soup acronyms come flying at you. I'm sure you see that on the school committee. You're like, what the hell are all of these acronyms? In the first year, you're just trying to figure it out. You're writing the acronyms down, hoping you can remember what the hell they stand for, Yeah. But the lobbyists come in there and they're, well, hey, rep, why don't we have a meeting? Well, I'll educate you on whatever you want. So, and they do, because that's their job. That's what they get paid to do. So they serve a valuable role. There's no doubt that lobbying is an imperative in legislative politics.
And do they take you out to dinner a lot and pay for
so
everything?
they
Is
can't,
that just another Hollywood thing?
You can only receive so much in a gift from any interested party, and a lobbyist would certainly fall under that category. So no, we do a lot of business over dinner, of course, and drinks, but I pay for mine. I don't like to.
Right.
We have gift rules and we have limits and all that stuff. I don't even like to get into that. So it's easier for me. I have a blanket policy.
You don't owe nobody nothing.
And it's easier to do the math when you just have a rule that you just don't ever let somebody. So
it's like it's the appearance of evil is evil in a sense.
It certainly can be, and that's another thing. When you're a public official, you're public. So whether I'm at church or whether I'm at the pub, whether I'm at the market, I'm on duty because someone is going to inevitably come up behind me and say, excuse me, Rep, can we talk about this? And I can't say no. I won't say no because I love to talk, if you haven't figured it out yet.
That was one of the reasons we brought you on. I'm just kidding.
No, that's fantastic. But I sincerely enjoying it makes it easy for me to do that. And my wife has sort of become accustomed to it. We do a lot of we don't have to, but I do a lot of conferences, so I will travel. And again, this isn't state money or anything. This is coming from me. But we had a conference here in Providence, and just over the past weekend into Wednesday, and my wife, of course, she was here, so she came and spent a lot of time. One night, I was part of the host committee welcoming the Council of State Governments into Rhode Island, and we had a lot of, all the northeastern states, the eastern Canadian provinces, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, etc. We're all here in Providence, and as one of the hosts, it was expected of me to be at all the receptions and talk to people. And at the end of, I think had to be probably Tuesday night. It was about 11:30. We were still at a reception, and you're up at 7 in the morning, so you're just nonstop. My wife, I'm gonna beep myself out here. My wife in the elevator is like, "You are beeping exhausting to be around," because I just have to talk. Like I'm talking to them, and she's like, "I appreciate that you're passionate about this stuff, and you can talk about any topic with anybody, but." Holy crap, you're exhausting, I get it.
I assume you had to get her permission before you ran.
What
was her first reaction to?
Well, I mean,
when you first.
I just lost my business. I was just diagnosed with a terrible disease, and I just lost my mother. What the hell could she say?
This is true. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's true.
But in seriousness, my wife is the most supportive human being in the world. And,
that's awesome.
And I'm truly blessed, and I know that may sound cliche or corny, but truly blessed that she's my wife. She's fantastic. Met her in 1987, married her in 1995, and
I'll ask you again when we're not recording. You can give me the real. No, I'm just kidding.
It's the same answer. And truly, I am. I'm a blessed man, and I know that. So I'll always be happy to talk about my wife.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, she was very supportive, of course.
Yeah, I think that's important. In a political role,
it's imperative.
I feel like you have to have.
I've seen marriages wrecked
yeah.
in that building. I've seen a lot of things happen to people in that building for various reasons,
Yeah.
And marriages take a hit no matter what.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So we were kind of doing a little bit of a dive into some of the policies and things that you had kind of, I don't want to say your report card, but kind of like your policy report card.
Yeah.
And there was a handful of these things. Maybe we could just kind of go through a little bit of them if you want. Unless you guys want to take a break real quick before we do that?
Yeah. The 5-minute
Why don't
break.
we do that? Yeah, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll do that when we come back.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Boom.
Yeah.
When the lights go out or the shelves run bare, most folks panic. Don't be that guy. My Patriot Supply Survival Starter Plan gives you real food, sealed to last 25 years. Toss a kit in the closet or the truck, and you're all set. Get 10% off at preparewithcumberlandunfiltered.com and be ready before the next storm hits.
Welcome back. So when we left, we kind of went over a little bit of your backstory. Who was Mike before he was Rep Chippendale, and you had talked about how that moment in Philadelphia after a horrendous year opened the door, and you became the rep for District 40. So, as your tenure, which literally you've been there almost a decade now, or over a decade,
Over
16 years.
yeah,
16 years,
almost 2 decades. There are quite a few bills that have gone through.
Caleb's
the
having
chamber.
problems with math.
Oh, so do I. He could have said 2 decades. I would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I
But
didn't
he
know
has
if
enough fingers and toes for that one.
I didn't know if it was 12 years, 16 years, so I was just going to say decades. That way, trying to broaden. I wasn't.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off your game.
Yeah, now it's over. We have to restart. No, I'm just kidding. So we were.
Are you kidding?
Huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, you're just making fun. I got you.
Yeah, he's busting your butt.
So we went through, or I was going through some of the bills that you were a part of, and I mean, Brad, you were the one that brought it up to me.
Oh, the Bills?
Yeah, you were the one that brought it up, and Brad was like, "Yeah, this guy, he pretty much lines up how we would line up."
Well, it's funny though. If you looked at, I went to, just to look up the voting record, and ballotpedia.com.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I wonder what side they're on. So it's like, it had their rating on good vote, bad vote, and every vote that they rated as bad, I'm like, huh. Well, I would have voted that way too.
Yeah. The volume of bills that come through every year and the various names and numbers don't always mean a thing. But we have a lot of election bills every year. Typically, more so after 2020.
Yes.
We have a lot of folks who reach out to us. There's an election official in Cranston his name's Nick Lima, and this guy's really on top of all of the election stuff. So he will largely, I don't want to say right, but he contributes to a lot of the election legislation that's put in every year. And he's very even-handed. He's not this or that. He's just trying to have good, fair, well-run elections. We don't agree on every bill. Sometimes I have to vote against a bill that he doesn't want me to vote against, but my constituents do. And the inverse is true at sometimes as well. I have to vote for something because my constituents want it. I may not want it myself, but some of them will be like, "Oh yeah, okay, I can talk about that all night long."
But you did answer a question that I have. There are some bills in here that you would normally be like, "No, I don't stand for that," but because your constituents.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Now, how do you know that? Like, how do you find that out?
You have to be willing to listen to them and talk to them.
And where do you do that at? For the most part,
largely with email and social media, they can reach out to you that way. So largely it's that and phone calls. My cell phone's all over the internet. You can't type my name without finding my cell phone. And so I'll listen to people. I will.
So you actually do listen to people?
Oh yeah,
because I feel like a lot of times when things get up on the floor for a vote, And I noticed this in the local, like the local town, they have public comment, right?
Yep.
But I feel like public comment never sways anybody's mind. It feels like they've already made up their mind based off of. Yeah. So you're not that way.
No, I can't. I have to. And I mean, I'll look for. It was canceled tonight because of the weather, but food trucks in my town. That's a big deal in the town of Foster to have an event like that. So you go when you can find the largest number of people in the same area, you go there and you just talk to people, right? And listen to what's important to them. Even if it's not a campaign year, you still need to talk to your neighbors, the people in your district, and whether it's prompted by an email that they gave you or you just happen to be in that neighborhood and you remember that, hey, I had a great conversation with this guy over here, let me go knock on his door, see what's going on. But if you lose touch with your community and your constituents, you're going to start to stray away from what it is that made them vote for you in the first place.
That's kind of how you can differentiate between the two parties, right? The Democrat Party is more consensus. They're more hive-minded. They whatever the queen bee says, that's what the party does. The Republican Party is very independent-minded, very independent thinkers, which sometimes is to their detriment.
It can be.
Because they don't know how to come together on a specific.
Can be, yeah. I mean, I as minority leader, I will tell members coming in, look, you have to vote the way that your constituents want you to vote. Gotcha. There are going to be a couple of votes that I'm going to ask you to vote a certain way on, but it's not going to be many. And those are for very specific reasons that we make those asks. Those are reasons for leverage or whatever, But for the most part,
so let's say they voted no on a bill that you are you going to hold that against them?
No.
Are you going to?
No.
Okay. Because I know a lot of times I've heard stories of at least on the other side. I'm not going to name names, but they went against something and they kind of got iced out. The party iced them out.
That's a tool of the majority. That is the tyranny of the majority, which has been written about extensively by Madison and the Federalist Papers, et cetera. And the tyranny of the majority is what I'm opposed to. So if I were to act in that way in my role as a minority leader, I'd be betraying what I believe, everything that I believe in, and I'd be doing the exact opposite of what I criticize the majority for doing. So. The day that I do that is the day I should hang it up.
Yeah. So I assume that when you're sitting in the chamber, there is a feeling of how something's going, right? Like you kind of see. When did you read that room? Give me an example when you read it completely wrong and you were like, what? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. So by way of background, most issues that come to the floor, it's not a matter of if they're going to pass. They are going to pass, right? It's a matter of the margins. So we, as Republicans, we have the ability to, and we will also make sport of trying to determine how many Democrats can we get to vote for our amendment. And so we try to craft, and it's...
Well, you were a lobbyist at one point.
Yeah, yes. But this is something that you can only really develop after being in the arena and figuring out, what pushes her buttons, what pushes his buttons, and all that stuff. And it's part of what we do, like the gamesmanship that I was talking about earlier. When we craft amendments, we have to believe in that amendment.
Sure.
An amendment, so... I know we don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but because I don't control what bills come to the floor, I cannot force you to vote against or for something that may be controversial to a certain segment. But I can do that through amendments, because then anyone can offer an amendment. And for a long time, that was the weapon of the Republicans, was just to throw as many amendments as possible to slow the process, to all of these things. And it wasn't productive. So with me, I focus more on quality than quantity. I want good amendments that, in a perfect world, were they to have a chance of passing, that they would actually make a positive difference, right? So we do that. But what we also do is we try to craft our arguments in a way where we can persuade Democrats to support our position. And the more we do that, the more it drives the majority leadership crazy, which is, again, part of our job. But it also makes them, each member, consider that issue that's before them and realize, like, well, crap, I don't want to vote against that. That's a really good amendment, but I know I have to. There's value in that. You know, I can. They know all the amendments before we even get out into the arena. They know them. I mean, they control the building. They control everything. So they have them. They've already assigned, or you're going to destroy their argument on this one. You're going to destroy their argument on. I mean, that's the game.
So you can't just in the middle of it just throw an amendment out. It has to be vetted.
It would only have to. The only oral amendment that would even be entertained would be something like that. Shouldn't be I mean, this is really simplifying, but that shouldn't be a semicolon. It should be a colon. That's more of a ministerial thing.
Because I was thinking about just. If I was to ever sit in there, I'd pull up ChatGPT and I'd say, "This is the topic. Now give me 20 amendments that I can
and that would
throw out."
That would grind it to a halt. But I mean, we do have time to think the amendments ahead,
Gotcha.
to think about them ahead of time. And again, we try to craft quality. I don't want to harass them into hating everything that we do and say. I want them to listen.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, there's value in torture sometimes.
Sure.
No, there absolutely is, and it's when you're there long enough and you understand sort of how the game is played, and the speaker right now he gets it 100%, and you know, I'm lucky to have a good relationship with him where we can be very blunt with each other. You know, we can get heated, but we won't ever blindside each other. You know, it's good in that respect, but I will tell him that I'm going to torch. If you bring this bill to the floor, I'm going to torch you with amendments. And I did that on the assault weapons ban. It's like, we're going to torch you with amendments because you're hurting me. That you're hurting my district. You're hurting my nation. You're hurting everything I believe in. So this is no holds barred, and he knows that. If I were to try to blindside, I mean. That's below the belt.
Let's go into that bill
he
a little bit.
He actually supported the amendments, though, on that, correct? Because the original bill was awful.
That's a whole other story in and of itself. But we didn't. We had nothing to do with amending the bill. In the House, the Republicans had nothing to do with amending the bill.
That was the Senate side that did that.
The Senate side did that,
Senate side, right.
Yeah.
And wasn't it done? Was it done in the Judiciary Committee? Or was that done in the?
No, it
well,
passed
I know
in Judiciary.
because I know Judiciary. They tried to keep it in there for the longest time to just let it die off. But
the original bill was awful. It would make us all
so
felons.
the original bill was amended, and because it was heard in the Judiciary Committee, it went before the Judiciary Committee, and they voted on it again. They voted on the amendment, and then they voted on the amended version.
Yep.
So yes, that did come out of their Judiciary Committee.
I still don't like the end result, but it was better than what was originally proposed.
I suppose it depends on how you look at it. I mean, it was less abrasive.
I mean, I'm not a felon right now.
No, you're not a felon,
No.
and I think a large number of us are clinging to what we believe to be the ultimate fact of the matter, which is that the
Supreme Court.
The U.S. Supreme Court's going to completely dismantle the
Eviscerate all of
thing.
that.
So, amended or unamended, I wanted it unamended. I wanted it to be the ugliest, nastiest, most offensive bill to the Constitution possible, so that
Supreme Court could come
it's
and say,
it's going to be easier, right, for the courts to overrule it.
But
so I don't want to have a hand in amending it, because then the other side who's supporting the bill could say, well, look, we got Republican amendment. We let I'm not giving them that. Not on this bill.
Oh, that makes sense.
Good point. Yeah. Good point.
See, this is why he's a politician and you're not. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, that's so the other tactic that I see a lot. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart.
No, it's all good.
It's unfortunate, but they use lawfare a lot. Like they will do something. It feels like that the other side does something blatantly, obviously unconstitutional on purpose, and because they know that they have the votes in their, they know it's going to pass.
They say sue me.
And then they say, exactly, they say sue me.
Yeah.
And they hold it up in the court. And while it's being held in the court, I mean, it's a law.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And and they do that.
That
over
dynamic
and
is
over
absolutely, it sucks. We can't, again, because of the way that our republic is set up, we can look at a bill and say that this is unconstitutional. But it's never unconstitutional until a judge brings his gavel down and says that's unconstitutional. So I could pass a bill inside the framework of our republic that says you cannot speak freely in public. Now, obviously, we know that that's an offense to the First Amendment. but we have the power and the authority through the creation,
Passed.
through the way that our republic is established. We've been endowed with the authority to pass the bills, to pass into law. It's the court's responsibility to then deem whether whether those laws will uphold, stand up to constitutional scrutiny. And unfortunately, yes, there will be a mentality that this is too much of a hot potato or a popular bill that I have to pass because my people want me to pass it, and let's let the court do their job. I don't like that approach, obviously. I don't think that's ever a good approach, because what happens is lawsuits will spring up immediately. And every single firearms, not every single, strike that, the majority of firearm bills that have passed in the state of Rhode Island have been met with legal challenges, many of which are still winding through the courts, both state, federal, et cetera.
But that's been a while now.
Yes,
so what do we do? Like, so for instance, hypothetically speaking, say I have magazines that are more than 10 rounds.
Sure.
I don't. But
no, I don't think anybody does.
But like, how do you, while something like that is traveling through the courts, what do you do as a citizen who is now under this unconstitutional tyranny, waiting for the arbiter of justice to tell us that, hey, that's unconstitutional?
Yeah, you bear the pain of bad policymaking by people who don't care.
Yes, I was just about to say they don't care.
have
They have an
consequences.
agenda, and that is all they care about.
Yeah, I mean, almost, well, I don't want to say almost immediately, but shortly after that magazine, which you referenced, that bill had passed into law, there was a case, and I don't want to give out too much detail, but because I'm afraid I might screw it up. But there was a woman in the inner city who something was happening in her building. She didn't feel safe.
De La Cruz told this story.
Yeah, so she used the firearm, I believe, that her husband left to her or whatever the hell it was, and it had a magazine with a capacity greater than 10 rounds, and she was arrested. She didn't fire the firearm. She just simply possessed it because that's what her husband left her, and she was scared that somebody was kicking her door down or whatever.
They had no idea that
The story.
No idea, because despite what my colleagues believe, people don't sit around at home saying, all right, let's update the law books because they just changed a whole bunch of laws this year.
Not at all.
So she was unaware. A lot of people, there were people still unaware of that law.
So the story that I heard from Jessica De La Cruz was that, and I don't think, it might not be the same story, but there was a fire in a house, and the police came to help the guy. The guy asked the police to come help him move some stuff out of his house, and obviously he had some firearms and he had some magazines that were not compliant.
Sure.
And what began as a come help me ended up getting him arrested because he had these magazines.
Yeah, that is a different case, and that did and that does happen. Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, no, and that's the problem with the let the courts do their job approach, is that we're putting a lot of people in really bad positions. And it's interesting because, the more progressive Democrats are often the ones, particularly the white ones, they're the worst, are putting in the most offensive bills that are an insult to the Constitution, that are offensive to our liberties. But when I will sit down with maybe one of my colleagues who's Latino or black, who is a progressive, I'll be like, okay, so my son with white skin, blue eyes, and my Rolodex full of lawyers gets popped. Your son gets popped with his brown skin and his brown eyes and a public defender. Which one's going to jail?
Yeah, right.
And inevitably they're like, holy crap, you're right. So then why did you sign the bill? And I've used that effectively because it's spot on, and they've pulled their name off of bills. Unfortunately, they may still vote for the bill when it comes to the floor because, again, other things are riding on it. But that's just the way that the political game works up there. Yeah. It's one of those progressive Democrats who came into the building filled with ideals and ideas about how to change the world. And he confided in me because I embrace everybody who comes in, whether they're Democrat or not. I want to learn from them, and I want them to learn from me. He confided with me. He said, "Really, I thought when I came up here that this, things were going to be passed on merit." He said, "It's clear that that's not how it works up here." And I said, "Well, welcome to the club. This is politics. This is how it works.
It's unfortunate.
It's the rules of this quote unquote this game." And once you start to figure out those rules, you can better navigate it.
Yeah.
Right. And he's doing a better job. That person I was talking about, he's doing a better job navigating it now. But that means he had to compromise some of his principles and some of the things that he believed he was going to do when he came in.
Yeah.
And that sort of sucks.
Do you see that a lot?
I see that a lot with Democrats. I don't see it so much with Republicans because, again, we won't compel someone to compromise their principles.
Sure.
No. And I'm not in control of what comes onto the calendar each day to be voted on. I'm not in control of what's going to be passed into law. So it's easier for a Republican to stand on principle than it is for a Democrat.
Sure.
And understanding those dynamics is really, it takes you a lot of time in the building or in the game to really get your head around it. But once you do, it's like 4D chess or 3D chess, where you can sort of see things before they happen, but you definitely see how they need to go to get to where you want them to go. And then it's just a matter of convincing people to help you get it there. It can be mind-suckingly just brutal to go through a process like that. And it is from time to time, but there are certain sick individuals like me who enjoy that mind-sucking process, and we go back every 2 years.
Such a sadist you are.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
Brad, I think you wanted to talk to him about this Echo Village thing. I don't know anything
Echo
about
Village.
it. You want to take that?
I remember watching you on TV probably 4 or 5 months ago now. Yeah. And you were asking, you went on and basically said, "Hey, I can get these buildings for $70,000.
Yeah.
Why is this thing costing? I think it was $200,000.
It's about $102,000 per bed.
Yeah. And I know you were doing opera request, filing an opera request. I don't know where you made out on that. Yeah. I didn't hear that back in the news again.
Sure.
So I was kind of curious because we had something similar happen here in Cumberland. So we had Diamond Hill. There was an old ski lodge at Diamond Hill Park, and they tore it down, and they built a 5,000 square foot facility there. It cost $8 million, which was originally budgeted for about $3 to $4 million.
Yep.
And I look at the market, what the market bear. I mean, it's like $1,500 a foot. I mean, shit. I could build a mansion for $500-600 a foot, 800 tops, and that. I had the same question in town here. It's like, okay, I have no issue with building it, but the fact that it went basically 3 times or 2/3 over budget, why like who did the research on that? So I know you were basically kind of, the way I felt anyway, you were pegging kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Was that Providence funded or was that state funded?
It had Providence and state funding in it.
And it was COVID money too, right?
It was COVID.
Was that
money,
was that in
so
during
COVID money?
No, it started in
23. So
2023.
So COVID money, which we all knew was going to run out at some point. Interesting.
Yes, some of it was used for that, and the reason. The reason why it sort of went away in the news was because during this process, there was a lot of, I had requested a lot of information because the numbers weren't adding up, as you pointed out. Yep. First of all, it was taking way too long to build.
Yes.
You were a builder, you say.
I wasn't a developer of housing, but being in manufacturing, it doesn't take much.
Right.
Contract manufacturing doesn't take much to figure out something's wrong here, So I had requested a lot of information, and when D-Day came and I had to give my presentation in a press conference, I had made a fatal error in the paperwork that had been, or the files that had been sent back to me, simply in the sense that I wasn't technically smart enough to open a document, or it was too big for me to fit into the unzipper or whatever the hell it was, and I didn't have I had a bunch of things that I asserted that I did not have. So they didn't give me this information, but they had. So unfortunately, when you present 100 points and one of them you're desperately wrong on, Everything
the
is
whole thing.
discredited. So that happened, and I mean, I ate it. It was a face plant, you know. I mean, 100%. One of those YouTube videos where Brad Inman does the commentary on, and welcome to whatever it's called, and so that sort of sucked the winds out of it. But the point remains that we took shelters that cost. I'm going off of memory, which is never a good thing, but I think under $15,000 a piece, you would buy them completely constructed, ready to go. Yep. And it cost, at the end of the day, it cost us $102,000 per bed. And there's 45 beds, and they're largely empty still. They're really mostly needed in the winter, of course, because you know it's a state-run or overseen, city overseen. Property. So if you're there, you're not going to be able to consume alcohol. You're not going to be able to consume narcotics.
So what is Echo Village? I'm sorry.
So it's a pallet housing.
Right, but who's it for, though, is what I'm asking.
70 square feet.
For homeless people in Rhode Island, yeah.
Sorry, I had to get...
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, it's an issue that we need to address as a state.
Yeah.
But when again, you know, I think my example was this. Look, I could get a Winnebago that sleeps 5, brand new Winnebago for I think it was $28,000. So whatever it was. And I could have given you this many beds for the same amount of money that you spent, which was like $4.6 million. I'm going off of.
You're right.
I reserve the right to be inaccurate on anything I say right now.
Just commentary.
It's going off the top of my head. So you know, that's what didn't make sense to me. Like in manufacturing and in manufacturing engineering, you have to find the most efficient and effective way to achieve your goal. And efficiency includes cost efficiency, right? Yes. So when I see I can buy a Winnebago that you tow with a truck level, and boom, it's got 5 beds in it, a kitchen, a bathroom, the whole 9 yards, versus us spending $102,000 to build a room with 1 bed in it and no bathroom and nothing else. I mean, I have to call that out. So I did, and everything else out of those 100 points was right on the money. Regrettably, that one colossal screw up where I claimed I hadn't received any of the invoices was good enough to sort of suck the wind out of that sail. But that's a theme that repeats itself throughout state government, which is inefficiency. We used to be able to say, you know, the only thing the government does right is deliver our mail, and that's, we can't even say that anymore. Unfortunately, for a whole host of reasons, right? But I don't know what the government does better than the private sector. I don't think there's anything.
It's really a good argument for socialized healthcare. Is if you want to see how good the government does, go to the VA.
And you know, or I mean, just look at our friends in Canada or in the UK. You know,
it's a disaster.
And we're getting there, guys.
People in Canada come down here to get their surgeries done because they don't wait 6 months.
Those who can afford it do, absolutely. And that, I mean, I had a client. This had to be early 2000s anyway. And he had the money. He would bring his mom into the U.S. He was in Montreal. Bring his mom into the U.S. for all of her surgeries because he's not going to wait for an MRI. He's not going to wait 6 months for an MRI if she has a tumor. I'm going to bring her to Buffalo, New York, pay out of my pocket, get the damn MRI, and I'll get her what she needs.
That's another thing that I 100%. Noticed just visually observing the different parties, right? Because I'm unaffiliated. I don't affiliate with a party. They all have their issues, but. One of the things is it feels like progressives and I mean that's the majority of the Democrat Party now. They come in with these.
It's the loudest part.
The fairy tale, these fairy tale ideas.
Oh, living a dream, living in a dream world.
They never, like in a real world, they're never going to ever work.
Yes.
They don't put any fiscal responsibility behind it. It's like, I have a dream world too.
Yeah.
But it's like, unless I have the money to pay for it, I'm not doing that dream world. So, and that's the issue. I think that a lot of these things, like, but you know, the example, the Echo Village, we paid $102,000, $103,000 for one of these things. You could have bought for $15,000. Like, I can't fathom for the life of me how they got to 102. So, like, who got it? Whose buddy got it? Like, who's, you know, how many layers were in between that before it actually got to the build structure?
Those are all the right questions.
And it's the same issue I have with our lodge over here in Cumberland.
Sure.
Is I'm like, you know, hey, if you spent $3 million on a thing, which is what it probably should have cost, like, okay, I can, you know, I don't see the use for it, but I can get behind that because the voters voted it in. but they voted it in when it was going to cost $3 million. Now it costs $8 million.
No, it was a council.
Well, no, but that was a referendum. That was a referendum
bond or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was like a $3 million bond originally.
2.5,
And it ended up being 8. So it's like, now we build this 5,000 square foot monstrosity that costs 3 times what it should have. And now we're asking our local government to raise the tax rate to 3.5%, where charter says 3%, in order to cover expenses, as well as water bill now is going to be 8%.
I think the telltale thing here was, if you go back to the council meeting, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's a drop in the bucket. It's only a couple of this, only a couple of that. It's only like whatever, $56 or whatever." But not once, even though they knew, not once did they mention, oh, by the way, that we're about to raise your water bill too. They didn't mention that when they were talking about it.
Didn't realize that.
No.
And then you got these regulations on the electricity, the electrical bill. You've got these.
But here's the issue, right? So, like in politics and on the state level, from the limited knowledge I know about some of the people there, they don't have the business experience. They've never run a business before. They've never done this stuff. Like, you obviously run a business.
Yep.
I run a business. Yep. Like, I know what to look for. Like, I know where to look, what to look for, and how to dissect it.
But I think that's why a lot of the progressives.
And I commend you for asking that question and bringing that out. Because
I always will.
I thought the same thing about Echo Village. I'm like, what a waste of money.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way in hell that cost $4.6 million, because I looked at it. I drive by it, on 95. You can see the thing there.
So it's a thing.
It's still there.
Dude, it's
right
70
across the street from the Foxy Lady.
70 square feet. 70 square feet. That's a 7 by 10 office. It's a 7 by 10 office.
Wow.
And if you look at the cost, he's $102,000. I didn't do the square foot number on that, but
Too many dollars per square foot.
it's way too many dollars per square foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. I think you brought up a good point, Brad, when you said that you ran a business. A lot of the progressives that come here never ran it, so they don't know what it takes. They don't know the realities.
Not just the progressives. I mean, even way back when I was a kid, right? Not a kid, but a younger man. Dan
That was
Connor,
a long time ago.
right? Dan Connor was our senator here. He got elected when he was like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Ryan Pearson, he got elected when he was like 20.
Yeah, he was young too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, so they
No
have
world or
nothing.
life experience.
So
They're going to make decisions for everybody in the state.
It just seems like, I mean, who knows how they got or why, but if you're a Republican, you've got to have like the best resume, in the history of the world, or you got to knock on every door 15 times.
Yep. Like you said, be the expert.
Yeah, but the wonderful part about our citizen legislature, which is what we have, is that anyone can run and anyone can get themselves elected. So in Dan Connor's case, you referenced him. He's an attorney, so he's bringing something to the table, right? I'm bringing a business experience to the table.
He is now.
Everyone has their own.
So I was pretty good friends with Dan Connor.
Yeah.
Connors. He, he was in law school at PC when he was also a state senator and a law school student. But yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, everyone brings something. You've got the guy who does construction. You've got the guy who's a lawyer. You've got the guy who's a doctor.
Works in a hospital and all that.
But everything runs on the dollar bill, right?
Yes.
Everything.
So it's like, if I understand that somebody might come to the table with a pet project.
Yep.
That they want, whatever that may be. And, the issue is, like, when you go to the budget, if you don't have the money for it, you don't, like my old man he's old school, right? So it's like, if you don't have the money for it, you don't buy it.
Period.
Talking about like commercial stuff, like real estate, stuff like that. It's like, if you don't have the money, you don't buy it.
Yeah.
And it's like, we just, the problem is we just continue to buy things, whether they're stupid or not.
Yep.
And we just put it on the taxpayers' back.
Yeah.
And that's what happens because we have that, because that ability is given.
The state, we buy this shit, right, that we don't have the money to maintain, right? But we keep buying the nice shiny thing. So we let the Washington Bridge go to shit, but we buy other shit that the next year is going to cost us even more money in the town, right? We have water lines we need to replace, but no, we're going to spend $8 million on a wedding
useless building.
venue.
So
I think just
useless building that costs us $7,000 a week.
Just a little.
And we have made, I don't know, we've probably billed 6 grand since things have been open. So
I think just a little.
Where's the return on investment on that property?
So one thing I noticed is money in government is always broken up into these different. They're allocated for different things, right? Mm-hmm. And for some reason, there's these rules that you can't use money allocated for this on this project over here. So I think a lot of what we see from the perspective of a lay or a citizen, not a politician, is that we see politicians doing things that makes absolutely zero sense to us, but we don't really know what pot of money are they pulling it from.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this building, the building thing, and what I've been seeing a lot of is that, like we see it as a colossal waste of money.
Yeah.
But some of the money or a good portion of the money was funded for that specifically. Not like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was in that pot. A portion of it, yeah.
So you know what? If you're allocated $3 million to build a building, build a building for $3 million.
Right, yeah.
Don't build one for 8. Like,
so let's go to the Washington Bridge. You can't have a fancy ribbon cutting ceremony with all the media there and everybody with their gold-plated shovels and big scissors because you maintained the Washington Bridge. But you can do that because you opened up the shiny building down the street.
Right.
And you're going to get in the paper because of the ribbon cutting, not because you did what you're supposed to do to make sure the bridge doesn't fall down.
Correct.
So it's sexier to do the new thing than it is to take care of what you already have. That's problematic across the nation. I think that's that's one of the inherent lures in politics is always to be at the ribbon cutting, to be a part of a ribbon cutting. I'm just really being general, of course, than it is to clean out the storm drains, make sure that the inspections are done underneath. Nobody sees that. You can't cut the ribbon. You can't get credit. You can blah, blah, blah. Like, that's politics. And that's the sucky part of politics. That's what, to your point, in Rhode Island, we're almost inverse. We do have certain restricted receipts that we can only use for certain things, but we largely have a general fund. So the legislature will, allocate this much money for this, boom, this much money for this, boom, this much for that, but it all goes into one pot. And then they just mix it up, and it's spent in ways that maybe the legislature didn't intend, or it's more difficult to account for because it wasn't spent in a prescribed way. Some of that is necessary because you have to be able to, on your feet, holy crap, we got a bridge that's falling down. Where are we going to find the money? We didn't expect it to fall down. So you need to have some flexibility there, but you should maintain what you have, and that's really...
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
You got to maintain the infrastructure.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at...
That should be the primary.
It should absolutely be.
I mean, you're in a business.
We're the ocean state, right? So everything's over the ocean. All of our bridges are over salt water for the most part. We have special considerations that we have to take into account, but clearly they weren't being taken into account. And we have what we have, unfortunately, right there with that bridge.
Because you run a business. You ran a business, or you run a business. And it's like, if you dock doors, all of a sudden your door's falling apart. You don't spend money on putting a guard check in. You replace the door.
Yeah.
It's like that's a common sense type thing.
I think I still want a guard shack though at my house.
Or if you're barely able to make ends meet, right? You're not going to put something in your business that's going to cost you, $100,000 next year when you don't have the $100,000 to spend.
And that's how businesses are forced to think every single day. Those are the decisions 100%. That are being made in the business, in the boardrooms or the small office where where a small business person meets. Whereas in government, particularly with our progressive friends, they just believe, well, just tax the rich. I mean, they literally wear tax the rich clothing. I mean, we've seen them in D.C. and in Rhode Island.
And they have no idea that they are taxing the rich the most.
And not only that, without the quote-unquote rich, they wouldn't have a job. Correct. Or they wouldn't have that nice donut store or coffee store or whatever the heck it is that they enjoy.
They wouldn't be in politics because they wouldn't have had the wealthy donor who provided them with the money they needed to run the campaign.
And the problem is you tax them enough, they're going to leave.
And we're seeing that. I mean, that's been observed and documented very well by reputable people and sources. Since going back to 2010, I mean, we've seen some really good reports on the migration patterns here in Rhode Island, who's leaving and who's coming in. Those with money are leaving. Those without are coming in.
And that's horrible.
And that's, at some point, you're going to, that scale is going to tip, and we're at that point, guys.
At some point, you run out of other people's money,
you
right?
run out of other people's money, and we're running out of other people's money. And I think that this coming year is really going to highlight just how
so let's talk about
financially strapped we are as a state.
Let's talk about it
Sure.
then. Let's go into
we
it.
need to
Like,
bring it to attention.
yeah. So let's tell us what do we
I
have?
saw a report one time, like years ago, about New Hampshire versus Rhode Island.
Sure.
New Hampshire's, I don't know how many times bigger New Hampshire is, and almost like roughly the same population.
Same population, yeah.
And they do them, get their municipal services with like 1/5 of the state employees. You know what I mean? That's a
think about it. Like we don't run this.
generalization. I'm just going from memory. Don't hold me accountable
that's
by
those
those
analogies.
Well,
are
we don't
made
run
all
the
time.
state. We don't run the state like a business, right? So like, a government is one big business. You should run it like a business. So like, perfect example, like in New Hampshire, like we have a superintendent for every school district in the state.
39.
pretty much.
Okay, you
40.
probably
Not
have
39,
you probably have 44.
Yeah, because
You
you have
probably
regional
have-
schools as well.
You probably have 10 in New Hampshire. I don't know what that number is, but that's just a example type thing. Because I know like
Yeah, but you can't fire your buddy.
One of my favorite was when they were trying to consolidate the Cumberland,
I've fired many
the
buddies.
Cumberland fire departments. And we had like a chief for all 5 fire departments.
Yeah.
Somebody was like,
5 chiefs.
somebody's like, they got 1 in New York City. They got 1 fire chief in New York City. We have 5 in Cumberland.
Yeah.
So
Well, it goes back to your point in the school committee where we just keep adding admin.
Admin, yeah.
We don't bring teachers or firefighters in. We just add admin.
So let's bring it to let's bring the conversation to what are we looking for when the next session comes? When is that? January? Is that when they come in?
Yes, we will be back in January, first Tuesday of January of every year. Whether or not there's an extraordinary session this fall is yet to be seen. And if there is, nothing good will come out of it. It will be nothing but tax increases and more pain and suffering for Rhode Islanders, unfortunately.
So do you have a forecast then for what we should start planning for? Does that make sense? What I'm asking?
Yeah, I think what we should expect. We have been, and at the end of fiscal year 26, which will be next June 30th, we will be all out of the federal COVID money. We still have some that's yet to be spent, but it runs out then. But already this year, we started to feel the pinch of not having that extra money in there. And so priorities had to be selected. Unfortunately, again, the tyranny of the majority. They have they have the majority. They can run it how they decide they're going to run it. And if I were to run it, I'd run it differently. But that's not the case. They allocated funds where they felt they would best be spent. I think if we want to get a really easy to consume snapshot of just how well things are going, Channel 12 just put something out. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. But they showed how our budget has gone up 10%.
Yep.
And they've showed what the practical impact is on all of these areas like education and all of these tangible numbers that we can see. We can see it was a very easy to read chart, that the cost of everything's going up, the number of employees is going up, that this is going down, but none of it is good. And our budget's going up. So what are we getting for our money is really the question. And I think that's a fair question. When we have schools that are documented as some of the most underperforming schools in the region, but yet we continue to throw money into the same system without changing that system, and the results just get worse. Healthcare is collapsing. We're throwing millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into healthcare, Medicaid reimbursement rates, all of these various statutes we're passing to try to bring medical professionals into our state. Healthcare is collapsing. If you've ever spent time recently in the past couple of years in the hospital or ER, firsthand, or if you have a loved one who has. I can't believe, unfortunately, I spend a lot of time in hospitals, and I can't believe how far in just 15 years we've degraded. Our healthcare system has degraded. Most of my doctors are in Boston because that's where I can get the best care, and I just can't get it in Rhode Island.
And why is that? Like, why is Rhode Island degraded so much?
We have a couple of reasons why, but we have historically the federal government deals with Medicaid and Medicare.
Sure.
We have state Medicaid as well, which is for the neediest communities and individuals in the state. But Medicaid monies are used to reimburse practitioners. So if you're running a hospital, if you're running any sort of a healthcare facility, you're getting reimbursed by the state's Medicaid fund to cover people who don't have insurance, who are underinsured or whatever. Our Medicaid reimbursement rate has been much lower than Massachusetts or Connecticut's and still is, forever. So if I'm a brain surgeon or if I'm a CNA, it doesn't matter. If I'm a licensed medical professional, I'm going to get 20% more on my salary if I just drive another 10 minutes.
Sure.
How far are we from Mass right here?
Right there.
Right over
5
there.
minutes,
Like
we could be in
literally 5 minutes.
Massachusetts, right? So I'd
those are good doctors.
be hurting myself as a healthcare practitioner to work in Rhode Island as opposed to another state. So that's what we see. We see the best of the best and brightest of the doctors and healthcare professionals are leaving Rhode Island, and now it's at a point so bad that we don't have enough professionals. We don't have primary care physicians in our state to deal with the need that we have in our state. And if you then look at what our Office of Healthcare Insurance Commissioner has stated over the years is that we're too heavy on regulations, insurance regulations, and just our regulatory environment in general, right?
So is that something that you're going to bring up in
we
session?
do all the time. I mean, these are things that we've been screaming about all the time as Republicans. We can scream all we want, though. It doesn't really change much.
Right.
And I use this analogy because I think it's just really easy to get. If you have to turn your cruise ship around, you can make the decision like that.
Yep.
But it's not easy to turn a cruise ship around.
Correct.
Or a freight liner or whatever, right? So we've made some good, I think, investments in healthcare, but it's not like a light switch. It's not like, okay, we made them, everything's fixed. It's that cruise ship now has to turn. And that's going to take a while.
And
what happens in that time?
Somebody doesn't turn the wheel the other way.
Well, I was going to say, you might get a captain or
happens.
somebody to come in there and turn it.
Absolutely, 100%. And inevitably that happens because politicians live in either 2 or 4 year cycles, right?
Yes.
So I'll worry about that. I got to do this now. I'll worry about that at the next election.
I think that's what a lot of the frustration is from the normal people is that we see all of these like politicians come out and they say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And we're like, oh, rah, rah, yes, of course. But then you get into the system and it's like slow. And then we start saying, I thought you said you were going to do this. I thought you said you were going to do that.
And I'll be honest, like, especially at the state level, like, I can't even imagine having an election every 2 years.
It's brutal.
Like, like I know what I went through running for mayor.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like I'd be in there for a year and I'm already looking forward to the next election.
That's one of the problems.
We changed our term limits to 4 years recently. But 2 years is like very tight.
Yeah, so for 1 year, we serve and we do our job. And then for another year, we're posturing for re-election.
Yeah.
We all do it. I mean, I have to do it too. I have to make sure, all right, it's an election year. I can't.
Oh, you have to.
I can't do this because I'm
gotta do
screwed.
it.
Or
you have to
that's
do
a
it.
calculus. If we had 4 year terms, that wouldn't exist. We'd do our job for 3, and then we'd run for 1. But I'm not going to go to the people and say, hey, I want to make it easier on myself.
Yeah.
I want 4 year terms. That's a tough sell. It's hard to make it make sense for folks who aren't.
Well, if they had 4 year terms and the term limits
term
at 8.
limits, yes.
Jay, what were you going to say?
I was waiting. If they ever were part of a campaign, they would definitely go for the 4 year term.
Oh, no.
I think if
100%.
people, I mean, I know that people do get election fatigue with the signs and with the door knocking and everything else, So it would make it easier on everybody if it were spread out. But I mean, I
think we
get
should put school committee back to 2 year terms. right in the middle of this one.
He just doesn't want to be school committee anymore.
No, I don't mind. I mean, here's the thing. I like when we ran the election, the only thing I did do was I gave an interview to the Valley Breeze, and they printed it. They printed what I said, and I told everybody what I was going to do, and now I'm doing it. And I'm everyone's mad at me because I'm doing it, and they're all like, I don't fight anybody. I just go in and I tell them what I think, and I vote, and I put stuff on Facebook, and I let the people be informed, and I'm transparent, and they all hate it. You know, all but one guy. It's 5-2 in the school committee. They all hate it.
Sometimes I wonder if you're even awake.
Hey. So they all hate it, and you know, I so far the only vote I've won so far is like adjournment.
Hey, you might as well be a Republican.
Oh, now I see why you were setting yourself up for a punchline. Sometimes whenever you're up there, I wonder if you're even awake because you don't argue. You're up there and you're like, so
there's nothing to argue about.
You know, like you're so like monotone sometimes.
I'll argue with you know, not argue, but I don't argue. I just tell people the facts. And
sure.
Then everyone, like other people, if they get real passionate. And then they, you know, then behind closed doors, which is another thing we're fighting about the whole executive sessions, and you know, this Cumberland School Committee does way too much behind closed doors, and behind closed doors, the lawyer actually runs the meetings. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks it's
that's the same on the state level. I see.
Well, we don't have executive sessions. You know, where everything we do is public.
That's where it should be.
That's where it should be. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean we don't have conversations that are decision-making conversations, you know, behind closed doors. But we couldn't have a quorum of members, whereas in an executive session, you have the entire body. And the public is, and you know, it's understandable. You may be dealing with personnel issues, contract issues, lawsuit issues, and those things cannot be public. For a lot of reasons, you know, you're not going to tip your hand on if you're in the middle of a lawsuit on
trying to sell
what you
property.
Exactly.
All these different bids.
So there's a reason for that.
But here's the thing:
double-edged sword, though. Everything is
after somebody buys the property, or you buy the property from somebody, that ceases to be an exclusion for executives. So that should be open. The Cumberland School Committee seals all their minutes in perpetuity. Nothing. And so does the Cumberland Town Council. In perpetuity, after the thing is done, after the reason for it being sealed is completely expunged, they expunged. They keep it sealed in perpetuity, and they're going to fight. You know, if you ask for that, if you ask for, let's say they just awarded a contract for after school daycare, right? That contract is awarded. That should be unsealed, and everyone should be able to see what happened. What happened with the process, so that scoochie fachi stuff in the background can't happen.
Absolutely.
Transparency.
Cumberland School Committee does not do that. They will not.
So transparency. Why? What is wrong with transparency? Like that is the issue, right?
Well, the reason is because we do way too much in executive session. They don't want that.
Yeah, they don't want that shit out there. Yeah, 100%.
So was anybody ever held accountable or culpable for the Washington Bridge up in the state?
Oh no. I mean, right now the state is engaged in a lawsuit against a series of contractors who have worked on it.
Yeah. So they're going to blame the contractors.
Yeah. Well, one of them out of business.
Yeah, there are several I think that are either out of business or sold or what have you. But there, you know, I was going to refer back to something that happened earlier in my tenure, but I'm not going to do that now.
Oh, man. Now I want to hear it.
No, it wasn't a great analogy because I was going to talk about the 38 Studios, which was a relatively small sum of money, but very corrupt. Obviously, that was a lot of corruption there. Whereas the Washington Bridge is more ineptitude. It's
competence,
negligence, and incompetence. Yeah,
it's like Ross and Dan.
Yeah, but I mean. But I mean, if you get a number from somebody, well, first of all, your RFP should totally point out, like, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, like, this is the consequence. And if there's a change, or like, if you have a correct RFP that goes into place, like, you should be able to hold people accountable for it.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is it actually the construction company's fault that this thing didn't happen, or what is the?
I don't have the answer to that question. I'd love to know the answer to the question.
Right.
There's a lot of speculation. There are a lot of folks who are very knowledgeable on the subject, whether it's bridge building or just infrastructure in general, who have provided videos. There's one guy who puts videos on YouTube a lot that it's really technical. He comes at it from a really technical angle because he knows his crap.
Sure.
And every single thing he says seems very plausible. But when you don't have all the information, it's really difficult to say, is that
speculation.
right? You know, is that, we don't know. And once a lawsuit is initiated, not only will you not get documentation, you're not going to get comments out of people because there's pending litigation. You know, it would be reckless to talk. It would be, right? So it sort of stops any sort of an inquiry. We've never had a real solid ability in the legislature. We had one or two oversight hearings, but they were largely just to ask questions. We weren't able to drill down into any level of meaningful depth on the issue. And I don't know that any number of oversight hearings would have ever gotten to the bottom of it. I think it was such a big issue that really only a forensic audit or something along those lines would start to reveal where things went wrong. But for a whole host of reasons, those types of things don't happen.
Yeah.
You know, the transients inside of government and you know, this person's an elected official this day or year, and then they're, you know, serving under this administration that year, and then they're a lobbyist this year, and then, I mean, it doesn't seem like they ever go away.
Right.
So if someone 15 years ago screwed up major on that bridge and forgot to put a widget in the right place, and that's what caused it, that person's probably still in government. And they're going to circle the wagons. And unfortunately, that is what people see from the outside. That's all they see. I don't know what's going on in the lawsuit in the court. I don't know how that's going. I don't know what the state's plan and approach is on the lawsuit. And they can't tell anyone because you're not going to give your strategy away, obviously, to the people you're suing. Will they recover money? I'm sure they'll recover money. How much? I don't know. But that has a ripple effect to it as well, because now contractors are going to be, well, Christ, if we can get sued, you know, X number of years after we did a contract, well, why are we going to go work in that state?
Yeah.
And we've already seen that happen where we didn't get any bids
I was just about to say that.
on the bridge.
I was just about to say that.
You know,
Nobody bid it.
so that sort of tells you, at that point now you're desperate. You know, you don't have the leverage. So in my opinion, and I was very public and very vocal about this, I felt that was the wrong approach for that exact reason. We're sort of telling people you're not welcome here. Contractors, we're telling them if we don't do a good job maintaining, you know, our bridge, we're going to sue you, and that's not a good message.
No, you're right. It's not a good message.
I don't even
And
know
you're
what
right.
to
The
say
bridge,
about
if
it.
the bridge had been maintained over the years, we probably wouldn't be in this situation.
Certainly not, or we would have
Or we would
been
have
able to
prior
better
knowledge on it.
anticipate it and take steps to mitigate the tremendous and detrimental impact that the whole thing has had.
Yep.
Wow.
That's a lifeline from.
Man, I don't want to end the show on a downer. So let's talk levity a little bit.
Sure.
You're in a band.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to talk about that this whole
Who's the
time.
band? What's the name of the band?
The name of the band is West on Six. Back in the 90s when I was young and cool, I did all the banding and musician stuff and had a great time, and then had kids and sort of kept all the stuff because I don't throw anything away. I'm a major pack rat. But I switched over to acoustic after the kids, and I did some acoustic solo stuff in the early 2000s. But again, the muscular dystrophy took a lot of that away from me, and I kept guitars around the house at hand so I could play them whenever I wanted to. But what got me back into it was just down the road from me. There are three young men who I coached at one league or one level or another in Little League. One of them was 4 years old when I started, and he was just getting out there and saying, "Hey, Mr. Chip, I want to get out there, and I'm going to start playing shows and doing a solo acoustic thing." So I set him up with some gear. Stuff is expensive to buy, and a young upstart. I'm not, I'm going to continue to be a coach and a friend and a good guy. So I kind of hooked him up, and we'd go. My wife and I would go, see his shows, and I would go up and maybe play a song or two with him or whatever. Just fun. And then another kid started playing with him, and then another kid started playing with him. So there's three of them, still happy to lend gear and do whatever. And I don't remember exactly what precipitated the very first sit down, but they're like, we'd like you to come in. We don't have anybody who can play bass, and we know you can play bass. And I hadn't played bass really since the 90s. I mean, I would play with it now and again because I have a few bass guitars around the house, but I don't have the stamina, I didn't have the stamina to play music, particularly with my hands, being as beat up as they were. So, in any event, to top it all off, they're playing country music, and I don't know. I don't know. Country music's not my jam. I'm a
really?
60s, 70s, 80s kind of music
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, I mean, like Pink Floyd and the Doors. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Brad's got Taylor
thankfully,
Swift in his playlist.
Yeah, no, I don't have any of that, thankfully, in anything, but, except my daughter. I mean, she plays in that. So, yeah, long story short, yeah, I went and we practiced one night, and country music. One of the blessings of country music is not terribly complicated, and there's as with all types of music, there are certain things that are inherently common. And that stuff's not hard to figure out once you listen to it enough. So I just bombarded myself with the songs on Spotify, and I felt them. And I played with them one night and did a full show. It was, I think we did 36 or 42 songs. I forget how long it was. It was a full night.
Cover songs, obviously cover songs.
All cover songs, yeah.
Do they have any originals at all?
Some of the guys do. We haven't, not that I've been involved, have brought any of those out, but I suspect at some point that stuff would start to come out. So I rehearsed with them, and I sort of was doing it in secret. I didn't want my wife to know, It's like one of those things. Okay.
Meanwhile, she's like, why does he keep leaving the house and not telling me where he's going?
So I'm like, honey, I'm gonna play with the guys up at such and such a place. And she's like, really? Okay. Like flashbacks to the 90s and all this stuff. And so she came, that night to the show, and she told me, I'm typically in bed or on the recliner by 8 o'clock every night, and the first portion of my sleeping happens on the recliner or the couch, and then the second portion happens up in bed. So I'm an early sleeper. So she comes to the show, and she's like, you better not think you're going to get back into this. And by the end of the show, she knew I was going to get back into this. So I told the guy, I said, look, guys, they're 24-year-old young man, right? I said, I'm a 56-year-old washed up has-been with a pot belly and bad vision. I'm not, I'm not what you guys need. But until you can find somebody to play bass and fill in on this stuff, I'll
like
be
Gandalf
happy
and the
to play with you. But they love it. They just enjoy having me around, I guess, because they haven't kicked me away.
I'm just happy to know as an older person that it's okay to play with younger people, because
it's remarkable, people who come to the show comment, because they still refer to me as Mr. Chip, and so over here on lead guitar we have this
Mr.
guy,
Chip.
and on bass we have Mr. Chip, and everybody, people obviously notice that the old guy with the belly in the back there with the bass guitar, but no, they're great kids. Music is fantastic. Making music is fantastic. Being able to share that with people is wonderful. We're not in session, so I don't have, the same time constraints that I would ordinarily. And, getting out and being able to see folks. And,
do you have a show coming up?
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you have any shows that are coming up?
Saturday's a private party. This weekend's all private stuff. But yeah, there's, if you went up on my Facebook account.
What is your Facebook?
Oh my goodness. I mean, just put my name. I don't even know. No, I mean, it's easy to find. I don't know. I'm like, I could tell you my Twitter handle or something like that. I don't know how you would find me on Facebook other than to search for like Mike Chippendale or something. Yeah. And I'm not even sure if mine is Michael or Mike, to be honest with you. I've had it forever.
Well, we'll look at it. I'll put the links and whatnot in the description of the video.
I mean, I don't, based on scheduling, I'm not at every single show. I'm at most. Sometimes we'll just do acoustic stuff. Sometimes we'll have a percussionist. Full drums or not, it can be a different show every time, but
I don't know if you know this, but I play the cymbals in the Portuguese marching band for the Lusitana Club.
Outstanding.
So musician to musician.
Absolutely.
Why does he give him trash can covers?
Shout out to the
Well,
Lusitania.
here's what I do. So this is what they told me because I don't know music. I don't read music and I don't read Portuguese. So they gave me the music in Portuguese. I'm like, I have no idea. So the guy just goes, just watch the bass drum. Every time the bass drum hits the bass, you hit the cymbals. I'm like, so that's all I do.
That's
so
awesome.
We march sometimes for hours.
Yeah.
We did the 4th of July parade in Cumberland. And I just, the entire time, I'm not even watching where I'm walking. I'm watching down because he winds up, thank God. I'm like,
That's hysterical.
That's it.
No, that's fantastic. But and that's music. It's picking up on
It
cues.
sounds great. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I mean, you listen to it. It sounds great.
Music. So for me, I can't read music either. I don't know much theory. What I do know is stuff that I figured out. But I'm really good at mimicking, and so I figured that out. A long time ago, I could mimic whether it's building something out of wood. I can mimic something that I see. Yeah. Whether it's drawing something. Whether it's doing a Peter Griffin, anything like that.
Do it again.
No. Oh my God! Why are you guys putting so much pressure on me? Shut up, Dad. They don't want to hear you doing that all night. Don't get me going, guys.
Oh, spot on.
We should do a whole show just on that.
Yes.
Well, you did.
What really grinds my gears? No.
You know what really grinds my gears? I'll tell you what. It didn't start off. It didn't start off with Family Guy. Fellas.
Oh wow.
It started with presidents. Like I would do presidents, but anyway, I mimic. So
This is awesome.
And music is mimicry, right? So I'll hear a song and I find those things about it. And it's just like doing an impression. You find those things about it that people can say, oh, that sounds like, right? And music's the same way. And then of course you learn theory and whatnot when you do it, just because you're starting to. Music is very mathematic. There's beauty to it in a mathematical and scientific sense. So if you have a mind that works that way, it sort of solves itself for you as you do it. Whereas mimicry doesn't. So you can get in it with mimicry, and then you develop along the way. And that's kind of what it was for me. I mean, it just always was just continuing to try to get better at understanding what the hell it was I was doing and why I was doing it.
Yeah, my son, he picked up the guitar at the beginning of this year, like January, and he plays over at School of Rock in Attleboro. Awesome. He's he's on the performance team. Matter of fact, he's got a concert coming up in September. He's only 14.
That's great, and keep encouraging him.
And he's like doing these Black Sabbath riffs, like he's playing Crazy Train, and I mean he's like over here doing the tapping.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see him, to watch him play, and it hasn't even been a year. And
that's fantastic. That's tremendous. And as long as that encouragement and that support is there for him, he'll hopefully always find joy in it.
Yep. He spends hours in his room playing too.
And that's really what it requires is that dedication to just do it over. It's repetition, muscle memory. It's all of those things.
It's kind of annoying, not gonna lie, sometimes.
Oh, sure.
It's so loud. He plays so loud because of the music he plays. But anyway.
Don't tell me about repetition.
Oh.
Ching, ching,
so,
ching,
this episode has been quite long. I think we're gonna. I think that is a good spot to really just wrap it up. So if you're a listener to Cumberland Unfiltered, or if you're not and you come across us, like, subscribe, share, comment, and we'd love to hear.
What's the name of the band? Do you have a name?
West on 6.
Oh, you said, what is it? West on 6?
West on 6.
So you must have been daydreaming.
Yeah. He wasn't at the table, and you messed me up. I was doing my closeout.
Oh, sorry. Just want to make sure people go watch West on 6.
West on 6.
Like, subscribe, share, comment. That's a wrap.